Hi, I'm Fran Kranz from Cabin in the Woods, and you're watching the Pretentious Film Majors.
Can you tell me a bit about your character from the movie and maybe how similar you are to him?
I play Marty Mikowski. I don't believe you actually hear his last name in the movie, but maybe it's, yeah, no, maybe you do. Anyway, Marty Mikowski is his actual name. And he is sort of the slacker, stoner, pothead. He kind of fills that sort of archetype, right? But he does not meet all the real stereotypes of the kind of slacker stoner that you'd imagine. There's more to him than sort of meets the eye. But yes, he has the kind of paranoia and conspiracy theories that sort of you'd expect from your pothead. But he's a very loyal, loving friend. I'd say he's kind of Shaggy meets Scooby. I definitely thought about, previous stoners' performances, Brad Pitt, True Romance. I love James Franco and Pineapple Express. I thought about Corey Feldman in The Burbs, going way back. And I don't know if he was, I don't think he was explicitly a stoner in that movie, but it was Corey Feldman, and of course he was. And I thought a lot about an ex-girlfriend of mine. Not that she was a big stoner, but these are sort of the inspirations I had. How much I'm like the guy, Marty smokes more pot than anyone I've ever met. So I'm not in that league. But he's a really, he's a very loving guy. I think it was important, you play this kind of fun, crazy role that you can make a lot of choices and you have a lot of freedom and you do have a lot of fun with it. And when you're playing, high or intoxicated, you sort of have a lot more freedom, right? But I think it was important, and Drew Goddard, the director, co-writer, he always felt it was really important for us to play them real and play them as real friends that loved each other. And so you had to find those characteristics, and I really held on to the loyalty that he had, this kind of dog-like loyalty. So I saw it sort of Shaggy meets Scooby. But I love the guy, I miss him.
I miss him too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of people have been saying the less you know about the movie, the better you are going in.
Yeah.
So how hard has it been, talking about the film without giving too much of it away?
It is tough. It's a weird thing. I mean, it's definitely, I've learned, how well I can keep a secret. You know what I mean? Like, in addition to, it's taken a while for it to come out. In addition to having to keep this, no spoilers and keep these secrets, But it's such a cool movie, and I really do believe that is the case. Like, I really do believe it's best just going in kind of blind and not knowing that. In that sense, it's been easier to keep the secret because I love the movie and I want people to love the movie. I do know that at times, if someone's sort of squeamish of horror films and afraid of horror films, then I like to tell them that it's very funny, and whereas the hardcore horror film fans, then I tell them it is, bloody. I think we use the most amount of blood, with the exception of The Shining, of any movie ever made. Yeah, that's what I hear. And I do think more people die in Cabin in the Woods than probably any other movie ever made.
That's an awesome statistic.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. There's one movie I've been thinking about that might beat us, but I don't want to get into it.
So what were your initial reactions to the film when you first looked through the script?
I honestly, I thought it was one of the best scripts I ever read. Just period. Like, obviously, I'm a horror film fan. I'm into the genre, but there was a way that it escalated. That it wasn't just sort of one twist. I knew Drew's work, and I knew Joss Whedon's work, the other co-writer and producer. I was working with him on Dollhouse, so I knew these. I already knew what these guys were capable of. But this blew my mind, even with sort of high expectations. This kind of blew my mind. It's not just one twist. It's sort of these bizarre twists and turns, and it kind of forms this kind of wild, creative, entertaining knot that you really can't ruin. Like, I couldn't just tell you, for instance, like, Bruce Willis is dead, or like who Kaiser Soze is, or you know what I mean. Like, I don't think there is some kind of one sort of thing to expose the movie and ruin it. I think it's all over the place and wonderful that way. So the way it escalated, I just couldn't believe it as I kept going, and then it ends with such a wonderful climax, and just that I just had a smile on my face for a long time after reading it.
One of the things that put a smile on my face was Marty's weapon of choice. What was your reaction to that initially? Because that's a pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome. I have a bong. So I was just reading Peter Travers, Rolling Stone. I think he said, "You haven't lived until you've seen me use a bong as a weapon of mass destruction," which is pretty awesome. Yeah, and that's true. I get it. Well, no, it's too much. Like the movie's just like it's insane. It's so much fun. I mean, you can't. You see these things happening, and you can kind of hardly believe your eyes. And it's that kind of feeling of being terrified but thrilled and kind of laughing. It's just real kind of hysteria. It's really wonderful. But yeah, the bong. A lot of people are talking about these days. It's great. It was a functioning. I mean, it worked. I had to go to. I went to like pot school.
That's awesome.
That's where I went to school. Everyone else, Chris Hemsworth learned how to ride a motorcycle. Some of the guys were doing scuba diving training. I literally would spend like hours a day rolling joints and smoking different types of fake pot to sort of figure out what I liked and they were figuring out the bong because it's a real functioning thing and that was important. We couldn't sit around fiddling with something or figure it out in editing. We wanted it to work, and supposedly the prototype costs like $5,000. No joke, yeah. But I do hope we're all hoping that it goes into mass production and that stoners everywhere.
A lot of people would appreciate.
Yeah, because it's two birds in one stone. You get your coffee and and then you kind of level out. You're not so high. You get a little caffeine and you kind of figure it out. It's pretty good. If your parents if kids are gonna smoke pot, they ought to have this this device.
So you mentioned Joss Whedon
yeah.
And Dollhouse, and Joss likes to use a lot of the same people in his productions.
Yeah, sorry.
How did it feel to get the call from Joss asking you to be in this project?
I can't. It's embarrassing, like all that he's done for me. It's kind of silly. But I actually was still filming the first season of Dollhouse when I got the audition for Cabin in the Woods. I didn't realize. I didn't even know he wanted me to read for it. I knew he was making a movie. Drew Goddard even came to set to talk about locations, and I was working that day, and I remember they were looking at possible lakes, and I just thought it was really cool horror film, But then I got the audition, and for me, it was kind of the elephant in the room because I go to the Dollhouse set, and there's Joss, and like I'm auditioning for his movie, and does he even know? I did. It was very strange for me, and so my agent just said, just go in, just read for it, just do your best, and don't think about Joss. And I went in, I did, and at that time I hadn't read the script. They were fake sides. They were about the clickety-clack man chopping my friend's head off. Very strange, very brutal, excruciating monologue I had to do. And Joss, but then, Joss came up to me and he was like, hey, you did a really great job in the read. Like, I want you to come read for Drew. And then eventually it all worked out. But I even heard later on that Joss actually had Drew come to set because he had told Drew early on, I think I'm working with Marty. Which is just a huge compliment, and I just it's amazing that Joss sort of took a liking to me the way he did, and I just did a movie, Much Ado About Nothing, with him, and we got a second season of Dollhouse after Cabin in the Woods, and so I love the guy, and he's so loyal to his employees and the people that he works for, but I think that his fans are loyal to him. He just something about him is very inspiring and gets the best out of people, and I want to work with him as many times as I can in my career. He's the best.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Last question, real quick. So I know that you're in Death of a Salesman in New York with Philip Seymour Hoffman and Andrew Garfield.
Yes.
Besides that, what do you have coming up next?
Nothing. I got Cabin in the Woods this Friday, which is the best movie of the year. And so you all should see that. And then Much Ado About Nothing, I believe, we're going to take it around to festivals. And yeah, I love doing theater. I did my first play professionally a couple years ago, about a year and a half ago, and I want to do a lot more of it. So I'd like to get back on stage somewhere as soon as I can. But other than that, I'm going to start waiting tables. We'll figure it out. But it's going to be great. This is going to be big.
It's a great movie.
It's really, really good.